What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, where for today's video I'm going to be breaking down and reacting to some of the massive computer listings which have just dropped thanks to the amazing JT Prime 17. So these listings reveal some of the characters which we can expect to see going into 2025 for Transformers Studio Series, and let's just say it's about to be devastating to both our collections and our wallets. Now, before we break down these listings, as always, take everything mentioned here with a massive grain of salt. 2025 is still pretty much a year away, so in that time span things can change. Some figures can be moved up, they can be moved down, and in some rare cases they could be completely cancelled. But 9 times out of 10 JT Prime 17 is always bang on the money, so I'm willing to bet that by this time next year we're going to see a good portion of these characters at the very least revealed. So first of all, I want to break down some of the upcoming Transformers 1 animated movie characters. These are all based on that upcoming film which is supposed to release in November of this year, so that's hype. It's been so long since we've kind of seen a full-blown animated movie based on Transformers, and I'm really excited to see how they approach it. But these listings, to be honest, kind of raise more questions than they do answer, and in some cases they reveal some big characters that we can expect to see from the film. So up first, there is a Transformers Studio Series Level A Deluxe Class B127. So we are once again seeing the return of that Level A assortment. It's so mysterious right now, although I am aware that this year we are also expected to see some figures from this assortment. So I'm hoping the mystery will very quickly be solved in the upcoming weeks or maybe even months. But yeah, B127, besides the Bumblebee movie, I don't believe we've ever heard Bumblebee be called that. So I'm kind of thinking, will this TF1 movie kind of be tied to the live action movie films? I guess we'll just have to wait till November to find out. Then we drop down to another listing. This is for a deluxe class TF1 Starscream. Brilliant, that character is going to be making his big screen return later this year. I mean, to be honest, the writing was kind of on the wall. We're seeing Optimus Prime, we're seeing Bumblebee, we're seeing Megatron. Starscream is one of the top 4 Transformers characters, so he just had to return. Really excited to kind of delve into his backstory, but none so more than Sentinel Prime, because another listing is that of a Voyager TF1 Sentinel Prime, and with the exception of the Dark of the Moon movie, this character has never been in a big theatrical film, so I'm so excited to see how they handle that character. I loved him in Transformers Dark of the Moon, and because TF1 is supposed to be pretty much an origin story, it's going to be really interesting to see kind of the earlier days of Sentinel Prime. Now, those pretty much wrap up all of the figures we can expect from that movie going into next year, although there is kind of a random listing which really isn't tied to any of the other figures on the list, and that's for a Transformers Studio Series, again, Level 8 assortment, Deluxe Class Dev Optimus Prime. Now, the second I kind of saw that Dev code name, I thought, wow, they're actually going to be approaching the Transformers Devastation game, and that's going to be really cool, especially if that is the case. I mean, this could be an Optimus Prime for maybe another subline, but Dev to myself screams Devastation, and it's going to be so sweet to see how they kind of handle the whole cel-shaded look of some of those characters. So I'm definitely excited to see this Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. Now we jump into some of the Transformers War for Cybertron Gamer Edition reveals, and there are some interesting ones here, although I believe pretty much all of these are going to be retools and repaints, so nothing too exciting. So to begin with, there's going to be a Deluxe Class War for Cybertron Autobot Soldier, so kind of a companion piece to the figure that will be revealed later this year, the Decepticon Infantry. Both of these releases are going to bring some much needed firepower to both the Autobots and the Decepticons, although honestly I'm not going to hold my breath thinking that this is going to be a good figure, because right now the Gamer Edition has been so freaking mid. All of them have been pretty much lukewarm with the exception of Optimus Prime and Starscream, and even those weren't perfect. So honestly, if I was willing to bet any money right now, I'm kind of thinking maybe this Autobot Soldier will be a mere retool of, let's say, Sideswipe or maybe even Barricade. I don't think they're going to pull out all the stops and give us a brand new mold, unfortunately. I'd love to be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. The next 2 Voyagers are straight up repaints, and ones which we all saw coming a mile off. There's going to be a Voyager Skywarp and then a separate Voyager Thundercracker. So straight up repaints pretty much of that Gamer Edition Starscream. I thought it was by far one of the stronger figures from the subline, but still not perfect. But for those of you who want the 3 main core seekers, you are going to be able to round off that collection in 2025. And then the final War for Cybertron figure, at the moment rumoured to be released next year, is a Voyager class War for Cybertron Ironhide, which I am really hyped for. Now, this will no doubt be a repaint slash retool of Ratchet, which we are expected to see released later this year. here, but that's common knowledge. You know, Ratchet and Ironhide, with the exception of the movieverse, have always been pretty much repaints of each other. I'm hoping it's a solid mold. You know, their designs in the game were sick, and because it's a Voyager class, and so far Voyager class has kind of been pretty decent, I'm hoping these are going to be some of the standouts from the Gamer Edition subline. But now is where things really begin heating up, because as you guys all know, the Bayverse is my bread and butter, and unfortunately it has been severely sidelined when it comes to Studio Series in recent years, but next year it is returning with a bang. So first up, we're going to be discussing some of the Transformers 3 Dark the Moon characters, and these are straight up hype. So to begin with, there is going to be a deluxe class Transformers 3 Hatchet. We've known this character is coming for a very long time. Unfortunately, he was cancelled by Target due to poor sales of the buzzworthy Bumblebee subline. Finally, Hasbro found a place for this guy, and it is in 2025. I'm so excited to finally complete the dreads, because if you picked up Berserker from Transformers 5, Crowbar from Studio Series, and then Hatchet, you have some pretty accurate dreads from that Transformers 3 movie. So excited to see that guy. Then we drop down a listing, and this one, I'd argue, is even more hype. This is a deluxe class Q/Wheeljack. Now, it was very recently that I was actually doing some research online, and that original Q that was released way back, I think in 2012, maybe the tail end of 2011, is incredibly difficult to pick up. You know, luckily I was able to find one back in the day, but damn, for those of you that missed out on that character originally due to him being cancelled, this is an amazing opportunity to get this character into the collection, and for those of us who do own the original mold, it's really good, let's all face it, but the articulation is super dated, so I am so hyped to see this guy, and with the release of him, I think that pretty much gives us all of the Autobots from that Transformers 3 movie, so that is super exciting. But that's not all, because there is also a leader class, although it is a package refresh, it is a reissue, this time for Transformers 3 Shockwave. Now, I know this will be a more than welcome reissue to so many of you guys, because Shockwave has very quickly become one of the most elusive Studio Series Bayverse figures ever, and for good reason. It's a solid mold, one of the best leaders I think we've so far seen released in this line, so if you missed out on Shockwave, hopefully you're going to be able to track him down next year. But Hasbro and Takara Tomy ain't finished cooking just yet, because now we jump up to the Transformers Age of Extinction movie. Yes, we're finally going to be seeing some updates from that film. It seems like Transformers 4 and Transformers 5 are so incredibly neglected when it comes to Studio Series, but they are now back with two massive bangers. So to begin with, there is going to be a Transformers Studio Series Deluxe class Widowmaker. Now, I imagine this is going to be a concept art series, because Widowmaker, I believe, was the original design for Stinger, and I'm gonna be real, guys, she looked incredible, so much nicer than how Stinger ended up looking, and I'm honestly kind of confused as to why Michael Bay decided to go with Stinger over Widowmaker, because she looked awesome. She was pretty much a mechanized fembot which could transform into that awesome Pagani, and I'm hoping more than anything that they don't just give us a lazy retool of Stinger, because I've voiced my opinion over on the channel many times. I think Stinger, whilst it was definitely a much needed update, was definitely not the update we deserved. It was still pretty bad, and because it was a part of the original Studio Series lineup, by today's standards it is slacking massively. So I'm hoping this will be a brand new mold, and I'm hoping they absolutely nail the look of the robot mode. I don't even care if the vehicle mode isn't officially licensed, just make sure that robot mode looks as accurate to the concept art as possible. But she's not even the biggest drop that we can expect next year, because as we move up to leader class for Transformers 4, finally there will be an Optimus Prime. Now, it's not confirmed if this is going to be based on his Ovation look or the actual Western Star truck. If I was willing to bet money, I'm going to say the Western Star truck, because we know Hasbro can kind of approach that flat-nosed G1 style cab in Voyager class. We saw it with the Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, whereas that Knight design is way more complex than pretty much any of the other Transformers 4/Transformers 5 designs. So I'm kind of thinking they've bumped him up to leader class to really knock it out of the park when it comes to engineering, and to be honest, the Voyager class that we did see way back in 2017 was a marked improvement to any of the Optimus Primes that we saw in 2014. So, you know, you're talking roughly 6-7 years progression. I'm hoping that they have once and for all absolutely knocked it out of the park when it comes to giving us a sleek, movie-accurate version of that Knight Optimus Prime design. And because it's a leader, I'm hoping he will come packing with both the sword and the shield, and maybe even the shotgun. So that is straight up hype. Easily one of my most anticipated Studio Series figures going into next year. So those pretty much wrap it up when it comes to the Bayverse related characters. Now we're going to jump into some of the kind of soft rebooted universe movies. So to begin with is the Transformers Bumblebee solo film. Unfortunately, this is only seeing one character released for the subline, but it is a pretty interesting one because this is a deluxe class movie 6 Bumblebee. Now there are two things this could be. This could be a retool of the Rise of the Beast Bumblebee without the roll cage. I'm kind of hoping they would also retool the doors so they could be in the Bumblebee movie accurate position, or it could even be a redo of the original Volkswagen design, which personally I would love more than anything. As you guys all know, whenever I come to doing a Studio Series ranking, that original 2018 Volkswagen Bug always ends up bottom of the list because it is just so damn inaccurate, and I'm not quite sure why, because Hasbro have been making Volkswagen Bumblebees for years, so I'm really hoping they reapproach that design. But to be honest, I'll be happy with either of them. I'm a sucker for the Bayverse, so to see that 1977 Camaro return always smacks the geek spot, and if it is a VW Bug Bumblebee, then that will be even more than welcome. And then we jump into Transformers Rise of the Beasts, so that massive blockbuster movie that hit the big screen last year. And you know what, Hasbro did a real good job in giving us pretty much all of the cast up front. We're now roughly 7 months after the release of the movie. The Autobots, the Terracons and the Maximals are all pretty much covered, so there's really and truly only a few other background characters which are left to go. You know, there's Apelink, there's Stratosphere, and then maybe a few additional repaints, but there will be 3 next year. So first of all, there is going to be a deluxe class Double Punch. Now you guys may be thinking, what on earth, who on earth is Double Punch, where was he in the movie? This is just going to be a straight up repaint of Scorponok, who was recently released. I imagine this will be in the slightly more movie accurate red colour, because I believe the designer initially said that there was supposed to be 3 versions of Scorponok in the movie, one that was green, one that was purple and one that was red. So this will either be the red or the green version. I'm willing to bet that it will be the movie accurate red version, so that will be kind of cool. But for those of you who already own the purple Scorponok, is this one really going to be worth picking up? For myself, absolutely, because I'm a sucker for repaints, and there were so many Scorponoks in that Transformers Rise of the Beast movie, so in some ways it's a perfect army builder. Now we jump up a scale class to Voyagers, and this is pretty much a straight up reissue, although I think a more than welcome one. So finally, Optimus Prime Studio Series 102 is going to be seeing a proper mass retail release. So I believe right now Hasbro have pretty much cancelled plans for that buzzworthy Bumblebee subline, so I don't think going forwards anymore you will actually see buzzworthy exclusives in Target. I do believe from now on they will just be packaged in either regular Legacy box art or regular Studio Series box art, and I imagine that's the way round they've kind of gone in giving us a reissue of this Optimus Prime so soon. So for those who were never able to track it down originally, he's going to be mass released next year, and you can bet that he will be everywhere. I'm kind of hoping maybe they throw in a few extra weapons, maybe spice up the mold a little bit to perhaps officially tidy up the back of the truck, but we all know Hasbro, and 9 times out of 10 they like to go the quick and easy route of just giving us a plain straight up old reissue, which ain't necessarily a bad thing because that Optimus Prime is an absolute beast. Talking of beasts though, now we drop up to the leader class, and damn, this reveal has been a long time coming. This is for a Studio Series leader class, Apelink, so the final on-screen Maximal that we really needed to kind of round off the entire cast, and I am so hyped for this guy. You know, despite having minimal screen time in the movie, he definitely made an impression on myself. I thought he looked incredible, and it was such a shame that he was brutally wiped out by Scourge in the film. I'm kind of thinking maybe this will be more or less just a straight up retool of the Studio Series Optimus Primal, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing because that is a very solid figure, but I believe Apelink was a much bigger beast than Optimus Primal, but because he did have such minimal screen time, I'm kind of thinking maybe it's not worth their while to actually completely upscale him. But either way, we're going to be seeing Apelink. Super excited to see that beast mode, but more so for the robot mode because he never transformed in the film, and what accessories are they going to include with him to justify that leader class price point? Because we saw the transwarp key, the axe, the chain, the swords included with Primal, besides the blades and maybe a reissue of the transwarp key. I'm kind of thinking there's not much else they could maybe include with Apelink, with the exception of perhaps the decapitated Scorponok head. I guess only time will tell, but the hype is definitely real for Apelink. And talking of hype, honestly guys, I never thought I would be this excited for the Studio Series 86 movie subline, but damn, next year Hasbro are going to be delivering, and there are some characters on this list which I'm honestly surprised they haven't released as part of this year for the 40th anniversary. So first of all, we are going to run through a few boring old package refreshes. So there will be a deluxe class 86 Perceptor. There will then be a reissue of the Studio Series 86 Jazz. Not quite sure why they are reissuing Jazz, as we are set to see a much more toon accurate repaint of him in the upcoming kind of buzzworthy Bumblebee 5-pack, but maybe it will be a single release of that repaint or just a straight up reissue of the original. I guess only time will tell, but these next few listings, wow, when I saw these when I woke up this morning, I thought I was hallucinating because I've been wanting this for years. Guys, prepare for devastation. There will be a deluxe class 86 movie Bone Crusher, which can mean only one thing. Hasbro are finally going to be giving us an updated, a full-blown Studio Series 86 movie, Devastator, and the hype is so real. When they were releasing the Revenge of the Fallen Constructicons, I thought that was the absolute peak of Studio Series. It was so awesome with each wave to kind of get a component to Devastator, and to say that I am ecstatic for this 86 movie version is a complete understatement. I really loved the Combiner Wars version, but because that was released as kind of a Titan class, they were confined to that price point. So some of the individual Constructicons weren't great, and even the main Combine mode itself definitely had its issues. With individual Voyager Deluxe, maybe even Leader and Commander releases, Hasbro are able to do so much more. And you know, the Revenge of the Fallen Devastator that was released a few years back was a massive improvement in comparison to his original Supreme class. I am so excited to see what these Constructicons are packing, so that is hype. Now, to accompany him, there will then be a deluxe class Scavenger, so another Constructicon. Then bumping up to Voyagers, there will be 86 movie Scrapper, and then finally for next year, at least when it comes to the Constructicons, Voyager class Mixmaster. So we are set to see 4 Constructicons released next year, which is a pretty big chunk of that Constructicon lineup. Now, that also doesn't include Commander or Titan class. You know, Hasbro could even give us maybe a Commander class version of another Constructicon, because I'm kind of thinking if they're merely just going to be releasing Voyagers and Deluxes and maybe a Leader, is it going to be bigger than that original Combiner Wars version? I guess only time will tell, but yeah, that is so sick. I am super pumped. And then to kind of round off these listings completely, there is a reissue, but a more than welcome one that I know you guys have been clamoring for years, a Leader class 86 movie Grimlock. So that's awesome. You know, that figure is super sought after on the aftermarket, and there has been various different reissues and repaints over the past couple of years, but none of which have been a straight up repack of that original 2020 Grimlock. So that's going to be brilliant. You know, next year the hype is real for Studio Series, for everybody. I mean, there's something for Gamer Edition fans of this upcoming TF1 animated movie, the Bayverse. You know, someone like myself, I'm pretty certain will be blown away by some of the characters that we can expect to see. Bumblebee movie, Rise of the Beasts, and then finally the 86 movie subline with Devastator. It's going to be crazy, even bigger than this year. So I would love to get your thoughts on everything discussed down below. What do you guys think? Who are you most excited for? And has Hasbro made the right decision in bringing the G1 Devastator to a Studio Series? I want to thank you guys all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!